Welcome back to the Mountain Witch Tarot channel. I am your host, Sarah. Today we are taking a look at some Trump stuff, as per usual. First, we're going to start with a couple of short energy checks, just to kind of get into his mind a little bit, see what's going on. We're going to talk about Alligator Alcatraz today, so we're going to do tarot for that, but we're going to start off with a little bit of Lenormand. So first thing I want to do, I want to get a 7-card spread, an overall look at how Alligator Alcatraz is going to work out for Trump. So that's our question. We'll put that back. Our intentions are set. Political card reassignments apply as per usual because this is a political Lenormand reading. Let's go ahead and get 7 cards. So I gotta be honest, I don't like this answer. I think the answer we're getting here is not so much, something along the lines of, oh, hey, he's gonna epic fail with this. The answer that we're getting here is more closely akin to the fact that this is going to be something that goes down in history books. So I'll tell you about the cards. We've got the dog in the center, which is the loyalist card when we do these readings. And then over here we've got the coffin, the birds, the ship, the anchor, the fish, the tower. So instantly I'm seeing a sense of longevity, a sense of being stuck, being trapped in place, and a sense of many. So this right here looks like, yeah, absolutely, there's going to be a lot of people isolated here at Alligator Alcatraz. Over here, there's a sense of like worry and dread of traveling there. A lot of people are terrified that they will end up here, which is a very founded take. You know what I mean? Like, it's not unfounded, okay? Makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't want to go there. This is horrifying. Like, we're watching something horrifying unfold right now in American history. As far as that goes, we've got the ship and the anchor. The ship and the anchor traveling somewhere and staying there. We've got the birds and the fish kind of mirroring each other. A lot of anxiety, a lot of stirred up feelings. This is most likely, this is going to be something that people are talking about quite a bit. And it could also be that this is a little bit of a strategy for Donald Trump because there's a lot of things that he's doing behind the scenes that he doesn't want people to pay much attention to. So all along the way, he's been doing a lot of stuff that will absorb all of the media, keep them busy, keep the people distracted, emotionally, like eliciting emotion, basically, to keep people thoroughly invested in looking over here and not looking over there. You know what I mean? So could be that this is a little bit for show, kind of building it up just to grab people's attention. Now the coffin and the tower, this makes me a little nervous. You guys told me in the last video, don't sugarcoat things. I'm just going to tell you, this to me looks like a place where people go to unalive. This is not a place that people come back from. That's the sense that I'm getting from it. All right, let's get another short spread and then we'll get into the tarot reading here in just a second. We want to know if this is going to be stopped or impeded in any way. All right, really interesting answer here. So I'll tell you about the cards. We've got the stork, which is a card of change and movement. We've got the stars, the moon, and the tree. We've got the key, the fox, and the park, or the garden. There are a couple of things to point out here. One thing that I think is interesting over on this side kind of alludes to Donald Trump's reputation, his persona, and how it's, there's some change here. There's the spreading of something that's kind of been slow growing, slow moving. This could potentially be something to do with people who haven't necessarily been keeping up and catching on, maybe are starting to, because we do have change in the center, so that, kind of navigating like the direction of the message here. So with change in mind, and we have like reputation and, the cards for guidance and kind of like spreading out, information spreading. Sometimes this is even the internet card, so it could be like internet discourse and things like that. But then we have the tree, which is slow, steady, something that takes a long time. So I'm kind of getting the feeling here that there's a bit of a reputation shift coming for Donald Trump. Now, if you guys watch my last video, you know that I talked about there's going to be something, I'm pretty confident, in the next 30 days that really is considered probably by his loyalists and the people closest to him to be a huge misstep, something that they're going to have a hard time fixing or covering up or putting a spin on. Kind of getting the feeling that it could have something to do with Alligator Alcatraz, because there is such a sense of reputation shift here. Something is changing about the way people view him. Now over here we have access, public access, and access that is flawed in some way. There's something wrong with the public access, which, makes a lot of sense. There are protesters at Alligator Alcatraz, because on top of this being horrible for the most obvious reasons, this is also horrible for the environment and the ecosystems in Florida. So kind of seeing that there is a shift in how the public is able to access this location, we may see some type of problem arise for the people who are protesting. I hope that they are allowed to continue. I hope that they are able to go there and capture footage and kind of let the rest of the country know what's happening. There's something's not right with this situation. So kind of seeing a change in public access. News coverage will probably most likely be included in that, but definitely for the protesters. Along those lines, I think it's important to point out that we may have some context here for access. I think this is probably the Trump administration wanting to control the narrative. These two cards, they're going to, like a slow trickle of information. That's what's coming to mind. I'm thinking slow trickle of information, media, images, videos, like definitely seeing something change here with that. And then with the moon and fox, this is obviously a reputation that is impacted by something that is off. Okay, I know that sounds a little vague, but... And then we have the stars and the park, and I think there's definitely a reference here to lots of people involved in this. So almost kind of getting the feeling that there's like a big tug of war. People are going to keep fighting really hard to expose this, bring attention to this. I think it's going to be a media circus. Definitely going to be a little bit of... if it's a distraction in any way, even to some small degree, it's going to be an incredibly successful distraction. But unfortunately, there are lives on the line, so I don't think that it is 100% a distraction. It's definitely something quite a bit more serious than that. So there's a lot of convoluted energy here. I'm kind of having trouble articulating it. I feel like I'm missing something big, but we're going to move on from there and go ahead and get to the tarot reading part. Let's start with the people that are outside of Alligator Alcatraz right now on the protests. Let's get just a little sense of how that's going, anything that we should know about that. I don't know if you guys heard that, but there's an enormous banging sound outside my house. I have no idea what that was. We're going to ignore it for now. I swear every time I start filming, something crazy happens. Okay. Little sense of what's going on with the protests. Immediately getting the sense that they knew that this would happen. This is exactly what they wanted to happen. They want to draw attention to this. For what reason, I don't know. But it does kind of look like in the center where we have, best laid plans. I think Trump wants the publicity. And there was something I was reading the other day in a book about, divination and stuff, about how, like, when it comes to the two, it's your will and your word. So that's popping into my mind right now, the idea of he wants this to be a big circus, a media circus. He wants it to be a fight because he knows that his core base is really gonna tune in on this and they're gonna love it. I can't even believe I have to say that, but you guys know how it is. What is gonna happen with the protesters? Like, where do we go from here? Like, if you're a protester, kind of, wondering, like, if I were to give the protesters a reading, what information would they need to know right in this very moment? I think that card's want to jump out. We'll start with it. Oh, yeah, so it's set into motion. All you can do is let it play out. Queen of Swords. There's going to be some energy step in, I think. And I don't know. I don't get the feeling that that means step in and stop it. Not yet, anyway. We may get to that. That may come up. But I think with the Queen of Swords here, there's this sense of truth and justice and not letting things devolve into such a bad place. Because it right now seems like we're in a very bad place, in a very bad time in history. And to me, this kind of seems like at some point there is balance going to return to this situation. And I think there's a lot of quick moving parts here that will be important. But what's happening right now, it has to happen. It has to play out in order for us to get to a point where these things start to, have an effect that will actually create change. Again, really getting a strong sense that this could be related to the last reading I did. This could be the major misstep that Donald Trump makes that costs him dearly. Or it may not. We'll see. We'll kind of keep going and see what we can get here. How does this play out in the public eye? Like, what does the public think of this? Does it change minds? Does it change perspectives? Does Trump lose even more support? There is a card that could indicate loss of support for sure. I'm going to scoot these up a little bit so you guys can see them a little better. The Magician is somebody who obviously can make anything happen. Someone who thinks that they have a good grasp on all things and can control and orchestrate. The Moon tells us that things are not always as they appear. Things are, they look different in the dark versus when they come out in the light. I think we'll see a great deal of sadness from the public. I think, the Five of Cups here kind of bringing up the feelings of not only does this impact Trump's support across the board, because keep in mind there are a lot of people who voted for him just because they didn't take the time to figure out anything about him. Not everybody that supported him are MAGA. In fact, MAGA is a very small group. I keep thinking spin doctors, like putting a spin on stuff, making things appear. So most likely this has a lot to do with how they put a spin on it. And that makes sense going back to the one. Oh, I don't know if you guys heard that. Holy cow. Apparently I'm getting a storm. We're going to have to wrap this up quick. But apparently, going back to the Lenormand reading, I think this is going to change Trump's reputation. Is this going to be a bridge too far for a lot of people, or maybe most people? It's kind of what I'm wondering at this point. Yeah, this is going to shift the perspective of what he's doing from kingly strength in the public eye, the public celebration that what little bit he's got so far. It's going to absolutely do him in. I told you guys he was going to make a giant misstep. I told you. I could feel it. I just could see it in the cards. And right here it is. This is not going to go well for him. Not at all. Let's see, how does, he's supposed to take a trip down there tomorrow. It's June 30th right now as I'm filming this, and Trump is supposed to go to Alligator Alcatraz, I believe, tomorrow. Pretty sure. How does his trip go? I feel like the trip itself is going to be uneventful, just as far as any outlandish stuff happening. I don't think that there's going to be anything insane happen. Looks like it's going to basically be a peaceful trip into new territory. Something we've never seen. We've never seen anything like this. Some people have, depending on how old you are and depending on which wars you've lived through. Some people have seen things akin to this. But for most of us, we've never seen anything like this. So big sense of going into new territory. And I keep thinking, what a historic moment this is, and not in a good way. So I wonder, is there going to be anything come about to perhaps stop this from happening? And I know I've kind of reiterated that question a little bit, but I want to keep asking it. Partnership. This, for some reason, brings me a little bit of hope, but these two cards, very unfortunately, I feel like, no, help is not coming. Help may be trying to come, but we've got the Emperor who can do whatever the hell he wants, and then we've got the Hangman who can't do anything at all, except hang around and watch. And then we have seeing a lot of distant, far off conversations where people are like, hey, we've got to come up with a plan. We've got to stop this. we can't let this happen. But I feel like it's so small and so far away. This is big energy right here of, I'm going to do what I want and I'm going to get away with it while you all just sit on the sidelines helpless and watch. Not a great message here, but that's what comes to mind. And again, coincides with the Lenormand cards. It's going to have an impact, I think, but it's not going to be the impact we need to get it to go away, if that makes sense. All right, so there is a really bad storm coming. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this short. I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder, but it's getting kind of crazy, and we've been having some pretty crazy storms here lately. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I did have a few more questions. I'll tell you guys what, if you are interested in this topic and you have questions about Alligator Alcatraz, leave them in the comments of this video, and I will do a part 2. We'll do a do-over. Anything you guys want to know about it, we'll try to ask it as long as it's, algorithm safe. We'll use code words if it's not. We'll try to get the question in there regardless. But leave your comments, your questions. Let me know what you think. And this is really we're in some really scary times, guys. So hang in there, do your witchcraft, do your daily practices, whatever you got to do. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you like these types of videos, feel free to stick around and click the subscribe button. And I'll see you all in the next video.